Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Bam Vigilante. That's the PV signal that Commissioner Gordon puts up, and we come a-running. Especially when there's like, somebody uncovers somebody in the corporate media has a history of being like right-wing, or in this case, pro-apartheid. Fareed Zakaria, regular contributor to CNN, it's been uncovered. I saw this on Twitter today when he was at Yale in like 1986 in the mid 80s. He was in favor of keeping apartheid. Basically, so in the 80s, everyone was really against the apartheid state in South Africa, which was flagrantly racist, right? There was literally white people, black people in the 80s. It was like Jim Crow South in the 60s. And people, one of the big movements was divesting from anyone. And Yale was one of the people that was investing in South Africa. So there was an encampment set up on campus for protest. And this is Fareed Zakaria. This is his history. In 1986, Fareed Zakaria was a student activist at Yale on behalf of apartheid South Africa. So he's anti-divestment. This is in the paper. Fareed Zakaria, 1986, class of 86 center, former president of Yale Political Union, the PU, argued that Yale should not divest from its holdings in South Africa. Zakaria spoke at a debate last night between the PU and the Yale Debate Association. And this is the editorial that Fareed Zakaria wrote on behalf of apartheid South Africa in 1986. He wrote this in the paper, right? And you go to the source and, Yale pulled it down. This is the Yale University Library digital collections. Oh, they pulled it down. Weird. I'm sure it's just a technical glitch. I'm sure it's a technical glitch. It's a technical glitch. Don't read into that. For context, here's what the protesters were doing. Yale panel rules protesters can build a new shanty town, right? This is in New Haven, Connecticut. This is what they wanted. They had a shanty town, and they were like setting up camp. We're not leaving. And there was a debate on campus, right? And Zakaria apparently revitalized part of the right at Yale. Read this article from Doug Henwood about the party of the right. He was a right winger. And so why is he on? Oh, they can't find it. Oh, weird. Zakaria, all the stories, he keep getting lost. Oh, this is weird. I don't wonder why this keeps happening. According to this publication, apartheid South Africa sought after people of color to be their mouthpiece. Here is Andrew Hatcher, one of the chief spokesperson for apartheid South Africa. A fine face of apartheid. They're trying to get people of color to say apartheid's not a bad thing. Gee, does this sound familiar? Gee, God, what's going on? Is there something happening right now in the Middle East where there's a state that's been treating people as second-class citizens in an apartheid? There's this open-air prison. It's called Raza I can't think of it. Anyway, and they're trying to get people to say that this is totally fair on behalf, even though the whole world is screaming, this is wrong. Hey, Israel, wake up. And some people are like, oh, it's not the same as apartheid South Africa. You're right, because the South African government was not bombing the, Black people's shanty towns the way Israel is bombing Gaza. 47 straight days of bombing, then 3-4 days of ceasefire, and then bombing again. We're right back to bombing again. We're killing children. It's unreal. And all of this nonsense that, it's Hamas is everywhere. So we get to bomb hospitals and schools. And it's the whole world is like, this ain't right. But because Israel gets money from the United States, they get away with it. And America has no moral high ground anymore. We don't have any moral high ground. We've lost the moral high ground completely. So this is what they were doing. Liz Cheney wrote an editorial to her university newspaper in 1980 in support of apartheid. The problem with moral statements. Liz Cheney. So Fareed Zakaria, when he was in college, was on the same side as Liz Cheney. Yeah, again, what he wrote, this is not, he wasn't just picking a side in a debate. Some people are like, oh, he was just on the debate team where you'd pick a side. No, he wrote very clear, concise in this article right here why he supported that. So are we surprised at this? This is the corporate media, which, Fox is obviously, they push Republican talking points and right-wing talking points, and they don't hold Donald Trump accountable. They blame everything on the Democrats, and CNN and MSNBC don't really hold the Democrats accountable, and they blame everything on Trump and the Republicans, right? So, but as we've shown you numerous times on this show, CNN and MSNBC and Fox are pro-war. And if you're supporting Israel, you're supporting the war machine. And Fareed Zakaria, you could even say, oh, well, he was a college kid. Maybe he's changed his views. He's the guy, this is when Trump, this is in April of 2017. So Trump had only been sworn in for, he'd been a president for 4 months. And his first, this is his first time bombing, right? So for the Trump supporters that say, oh, Trump was this like hippie peace guy because he didn't start any new wars. He inherited 7 wars from Obama. Obama inherited 2 from Bush, and Obama took us from 2 wars to 7. Obama dropped more bombs than Bush. And then Trump dropped more bombs than Obama. And when he first started bombing Syria, this is Fareed Zakaria's response. Was it, oh my God, Trump's a warmonger, oh, blah, blah. No. This is the guy, the pro-apartheid guy. This was his view. This is strike. U.S. cruise missiles strike Syrian airbase.
It's day 78 of the Trump presidency. What changed last night?
I think Donald Trump became president of the United States. I think this was actually a big moment because candidate Trump had said that he would never get involved in the Syrian civil war. He told President Obama, you cannot do this without the authorization of Congress. He seemed unconcerned with global norms. President Trump recognized that the president of the United States does have to act to enforce international norms, does have to have this broader moral and political purpose. President Trump realized, as every president has for many decades now, that presidents always believe they have inherent legal authority as commander-in-chief, and they don't need to go to a pesky Congress every time they want military force. It's entirely true that candidate Trump felt differently. Candidate Obama felt differently than President Obama on these issues. So I think that what is interesting is even the way in which he justified his actions, President Trump did. For the first time, really, as president, he talked about international norms, international rules, about America's role in enforcing justice in the world. It was the kind of rhetoric that we have come to expect from American presidents since Harry Truman, but it was the kind of rhetoric that President Trump had pointedly never used, either on the campaign trail nor in his inaugural. So I think there has been an interesting morphing and a kind of education of Donald Trump.
Oh, so just to be clear, Trump didn't become president. When you bomb someone, that's when you become president. And America, listen to what Fareed Zakaria said. So according to what Fareed Zakaria said back in 6.5 years ago, in April of 2017, once you become, as a candidate, you can say this and that, but, oh, stop talking. Who's saying this? I don't want this. Okay. So what Fareed Zakaria is saying is that you become president when you start bombing. And again, according to Fareed Zakaria's words from 6.5 years ago, April of 2017, you have to take the moral high ground when you're the president of the United States, and you must enforce international law. So according to what Fareed Zakaria said, then Biden should be enforcing international law and forcing Israel into a ceasefire, because Israel is breaking all of these international laws, right? That's a fact. I'm not making that up. The UN, everyone was like voting to, hold Israel accountable, and the US said no. Israel keeps doing what it wants. So it just shows you that the war machine is really who is the president. And whoever sits in the Oval Office is a puppet of the war machine. And Fareed Zakaria, I'm sure, is paid quite well to say stuff like that on CNN. I mean, he was he was in favor of apartheid when he was in college, and now he's in favor of bombing. I mean, remember when Trump was calling Obama, when Trump's campaign was like running kind of a populist, a right-wing populism for sure, but an anti-war right-wing populism. Like, why is America spending all of its money why are we in all these wars? Remember, Trump said that. And then, the war machine, which controls both parties, is like, we can't have an anti-war guy in there. Trump gets into office. He starts dropping some bombs. There you go, Trump. There you go. Just like Obama did. And that's basically what Zakaria said. So why should we listen to any of these people on any of these networks when they're so clearly pushing and they contradict themselves? I mean, in that sentence, he contradicted himself. I'd love to show Fareed Zakaria that statement today and say, well, then shouldn't America be holding Israel accountable? Shouldn't we stop giving them money? I mean, it isn't about religion. It's about nationalism. It's about, Israeli nationalism. That's what this is about. And Israel won't even acknowledge the Armenian genocide because Israel gets oil from Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is in a war with Israel, with Armenia. Armenia and Azerbaijan are in a war right now. And so Israel gets, and they sell Azerbaijan weapons that they get from the United States. And to date, Israel has dropped 22,000 American bombs on Palestinians. So that's Fareed Zakaria. And then I'm sure after that CNN spot from 2017, they cut to an ad from, Shell Oil or Boeing or somebody, Raytheon or somebody like that. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. CNN hated Trump until he started bombing Syria. That's when CNN liked Trump became president today. Wow. That's horrific. If that's what it takes to be a president, you got to just keep the war machine going. You got to keep taking American tax dollars and bombing poor people in the Middle East. That's what it takes to be a president? No, you're a bad leader. If you were a true leader, you'd be taking care of your citizens. You would be improving the lives of the majority of Americans. That's what a good leader does. Nayib Bukele in El Salvador has made the lives of his citizens better. He's empowered them financially with Bitcoin, and he's locked up 70,000 criminals who MS-13 did horrible things, chopped people up, gang rapes. I mean, horrific stuff. That doesn't happen anymore. People were paying roughly 30% of their annual income in extortion money to gangs, and that they don't have to do that anymore. Every day he's building new infrastructure. I was in El Zonte, which is Bitcoin Beach, in June. It was all dirt roads. I'm back in November of this year in El Zonte. Way more roads are paved, and the ones that aren't paved are about to be paved. There's construction happening. That's how you make people's lives better. You don't bomb poor countries. So that's what we do on the show. We follow the money, we connect the dots, and we get the truth and expose the liars in the corporate media. And they're paid to say this kind of nonsense. It's great theater. Trump became president today, bombing poor people. Wow. Not shocking that a pro-apartheid guy would be in favor of bombing. Follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth. That's how we make Gotham great again and shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.